Welcome back to Garden Tip Tuesday. Today we are talking roses, and I'll share with you a nifty trick. So garden friends, what does a touch of honey, a mayonnaise jar, and clippers have to do, with this rose? I'm going to show you. Before we get started with propagating the rose, I wanted to share with you, I guess, a little advice. This is Tequila Supreme, and I have 4 of them planted here in the front of my house. This area only gets about 3 to 4 hours of sun a day. Now with roses, it's recommended that they get at least 6 hours a day to do well. These have been here for 3 years now. They are doing fantastic. So my advice is, if you have a spot that you're kind of thinking is iffy for a plant that you want to have there, give it a whirl. You never know, it might just work out for you. Now, next year we'll see how these do. Maybe I'll need to move them. That's okay. Now, next year, maybe they won't do so well. I don't know what's going on or why these are doing so well in less than optimum sun conditions. But it's okay if I have to move them later. I'm enjoying them here for now. If I need to move them later, I will enjoy them wherever else I get to put them. So don't be afraid to experiment. This tip is for all you rose lovers who have tried and tried to start cuttings but fail. There's many reasons they could fail, but here I have to deadhead this. This is Jubilee Celebration Rose. It's been retired by David Austin Roses. I don't know why, but they're coming out with new ones. I guess there's only so many you can grow, but I'm going to deadhead this. Now, this cane here has one beautiful rose on it, but the rest of these, I'm going to cut down to that spot. Now, you can cut down further. It is not imperative where you cut. You just want the stem to be almost a pencil thickness. And there's a cucumber beetle I need to get rid of. Okay, so I'm cutting down. You see that? And I'm just going to, I should have something where I set this down. But I'm cutting off all the flower stems because they're done. And then I'm cutting off this leaf and this leaf, and I will leave this leaf here. See that? Now that's about 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches, and I am rubbing it in the honey right where I cut it. Now this one is not semi-ripe. This is well, maybe it is. It's pretty stiff, but I'm just skinning it a little, and I'm rubbing the honey all over it. Now, I will confess, this is my first time using raw, unfiltered honey in place of the hormone. I usually use the rooting hormone, which works very well, but I've been reading a lot. I'm going to put the honey up by this, where this leaf node was. I'll bring it up close. See the leaf node? I've got it upside down. Put the leaf node on there. I'm going to now bury this in the soil at the base of my rose. I'll lick my finger. All right. So that is one. I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to set this down, the rose down. And you see this one? This one's pretty much done. And I'm going to go down below this leaf node. See, leaf node is where the leaves come out from the side. And I'm going to cut all of these off. And I can cut this right here. And then I have this little leaf on it. And then I'm going to do the same, except I'll scrape it a little bit. You do not have to scrape it. I just do that just to open up the cambium a little. It's supposed to help it root faster. I can't attest to that. So I'm just putting in the rose cane in the honey, and I'm making sure to get it up by that leaf node. Both the leaf nodes have honey all over it. That is a lot of times where roots will emerge. Now, the trick is lots and lots of cuttings. So since I've got lots of deadheading to do on this, I will do that. I'm going to take this one way down here, but you see there's a leaf node way up there rather than down here. That's okay. Now this one, I think I'll leave this leaf on it. You don't have to leave leaves. You can have them completely bare and they'll be fine. So this one doesn't have a leaf node down here. Let's give it a try anyways. I'm just scraping it a little. And we'll do the honey trick. Get honey on it. I didn't mean to get petals in here, but I did, because I'm trying to do it without having a surface to set this on. If I was a little more organized, you know. Okay, so this one needs to go as well. But I can go down here. Now that's a little bit thick, so I can cut that off. And even that one's a little bit thick. So we can focus on the upper part. No, it's too thin, those canes. Now you'd see this is about the circumference of a pencil. Just slightly, maybe slightly bigger. So all these other side shoots can come off. I'm trying to do this. So now this one, this leaf node here, let me try to get underneath that where I can really shave it back close to the stem. There we go. That's what I meant to do. So then we get the honey all over it, put it all across the stem. Ta-da. Now there's 4. Since I have so much, I'm getting my cutter so sticky. Now this one, see, it came down to where it was thicker. And this one actually I can make 2 cuttings from. So I'll cut the top off. That rose. I'll cut this leaf off. So cut it right there. Yeah, I can cut it right there. Trying to do this without it dropping. Didn't do it. Okay, so pulled off the leaves. You bored yet? So you do that. And I make sure this leaf node, now this is going to go under the soil, this leaf node. So that, and I'm going to cut back most of the leaves off. Okay, so now I've gotten several. And now I'm going to go down here to the soil. Let's point the camera down. So here's where the mayonnaise jar comes in. You see this one? This is one I did a couple weeks ago. And you see, look at the cuttings in that. They're still green, doing beautiful, and hopefully they're rooting. So let's go over here. Now, here's my drip irrigation, and there's where a drip goes. So I know this is going to get moisture whenever I turn on the drip irrigation. And many times I will also supplement with a watering can just to be sure. So I'm going to take all of these. In fact, I'll take one to use as a way to poke holes into the soil. Or no, they just poked right down in there, so I just didn't have to do that. I'm trying to keep them fairly close. You notice that the leaf nodes are getting pushed underneath the soil, and I'm pushing them around this drip irrigation pot. This is very loose soil. I'm afraid it feels like the gophers have been in here. And then I take my clean mayonnaise jar and I put it over top, just like that. Now I weight it down with a rock, and that rock was on here, but this seems to be doing well. And that is how I propagate rose cuttings. This one I could probably still do. And right at the foot of the mother plant, and then I know which ones these are. I try to do as many as I can, because that way you have the chance of at least getting one. Now I've had many times I have 80% germination rate. And these were done with rooting hormone. These are the ones with honey. And like I said, it's the first time I've done it with honey. So we'll see how that works out. But I've read lots of experiences where the honey, the raw unfiltered honey, worked as well as the rooting hormone. And whether that's just because it stops diseases from starting or what, I don't know. But it is what it is. So I'm going to put this one in there. I'm going to get it all. I went in and washed my hands before I did the rest of this. And see, this is a little eye where a leaf node would come out eventually. Now I could put that in here too. I think I will. And I'll just put it right in the center. And put these all around it. And then I'll make sure, right now I had the irrigation on yesterday here. It doesn't seem like it's that moist, so I'm going to make sure I supplement it. And that is the rose propagation trick. And there's still more cuttings I could take off from deadheading, and I could put more back there. I just got to find another mayonnaise jar. This also works. My grandmother used to do it with mason jars, so mason jars will also work. These are plastic, a little bit safer outdoors, but my grandmother had no problem with doing it in with a mason jar. Also, I have put the pot, planted a pot, or buried a pot in the soil, like a terracotta pot or whatever, and then filled it with the soil, and then put the roses down in the pot in the soil, and this on top. And that way, when it's time to pull up the whole thing, you'd have the pot full of the roses, and then you could take them in wherever you want to pot them up, and that works too. So, nifty propagation trick. Now, plant pick of the week is going to be my roses. Roses can be grown in a wide variety of climates, conditions, zones. And there's a rose that's bred for just about any kind of conditions. So I live in the mountains. We have very warm days, but very cool nights, many times even through the summer. Heavy wet snows, late freezes. So I have found plants that do well for me in my conditions. Now I have arid conditions, so I don't battle a lot with powdery mildew, except for some of my vintage roses. They are highly susceptible to powdery mildew. More modern roses are bred against such things. Like there's roses made or bred to suit high humidity conditions as well as long hot summers. So when you're shopping for roses, you may have a particular variety you want, but maybe it doesn't suit your conditions. Like many David Austin roses that I have do not like our late freezes, and they really will struggle if we get some severe ones. And we can have like 2 weeks, the beginning of May in the 70s, be beautiful, warm, and everything starts really coming, thinking, oh wow, we can start blooming. And then it'll drop to 20 degrees. And then the roses will have budded up and it will just kill them back, and they turn black. And then it takes them a while to recover from that shock. So I have found that many David Austin roses are very susceptible to that, whereas my Cortez arbor roses, which are bred for cold conditions, they sail right through it, and they have no problem. I mean, I do lose those flower buds, but they don't take as long to recover from it, and they just start blooming sooner. So that is just something I've noticed in my garden. This is Europenia. It's a older variety. I don't remember if it was a Floribunda or Grandiflora. I'll look that up. But that's one thing I was going to say. There's many types of roses: Floribundas, Grandifloras, hybrid teas. There's just the regular shrub roses. Many David Austins are bred. They were bred as shrub roses, but in the U.S. climate, I end up having to grow them as climbers because they get like 12 feet tall, and they want to send out long, drapey canes, and you have to support them. But that's okay. Once you learn how to do it, it works. Now up there, I have Glamis Castle. I have had that in containers. I have moved that around the garden. It always struggled. I stick it in the ground up there thinking I'm just going to plop it in the ground. I didn't even protect it from gophers. And it is blooming beautifully this year. So I guess that's a piece of advice, is move things around if it's not doing well where it's at. And just keep trying. The worst it can do is die, and yeah, that's that. So anyways, that is the plant of the week. Now, across many zones. There's, I started to say this earlier and went off on another tangent in another direction, but if you find a rose or there's one you really, really like, but it's not bred or good in your climate conditions. You know, there's so many roses that look similar that you probably could find one that will suit your conditions that looks very similar. And you know what? The prettiest rose is a healthy rose. So if it's healthy, then you'll enjoy it more. You don't have to baby it, pamper it, or anything else. Now, I don't typically spray my roses. Now, some of my vintage roses, I will use a neem oil systemic, organic systemic, which is made from rosemary oil and clove oil spray. And that helps fight the powdery mildew and keeps them a little bit healthier. And I have one that's named Pam's Pink that really struggles with black spot. So those also will get sprayed. And I'm very careful when I use it, so I'm not bothering any of the beneficials, but that just helps to keep those. But the rest of my roses, I don't spray at all. And so I have, like I said, arid conditions, so maybe that's one of the redeeming qualities, but also a lot of my modern roses are bred to be disease resistant. And so look for that if that's something you need to have healthy roses in your garden. I know a lot of people think roses are hard. I basically just throw them in the garden and let them do their thing. I don't pamper, baby, I just enjoy. So you can do it. I know you can. Can you hear that in the background? That is progress on the greenhouse. Wonderful, wonderful. You know, I had a viewer ask me, and I thought I'd share this here. How many roses do I have? I just walked around my gardens, and I'm sure I missed one or two, but I have 100 roses. That's unbelievable to me. I would not have said that I had 100 roses. Now, something that you may find amazing too, I do when I think about it. Let me see, 15 years ago, we had a super hard freeze in October. The week had been beautiful, it was in 80 degrees, and overnight, one night it dropped to 10 degrees. Nothing had gone to into dormancy yet. And that's when I lost 70 roses. Yes, 70 David Austin roses that I had. Was collecting them every year, the new ones that came out. I had so many beautiful roses. And yes, that was before I bought them root only. And that is why now I try to primarily grow roses that are grown on their own root. Because if they come back from the root, then it is the same rose. It is not what the graft rootstock is, which many times is Dr. Huey, which is not what you want. You want the rose you bought. So anyways, if I still had those 70 other roses, I'd have almost 200 roses in my small suburban space. Yes, because I would have fit these others in. And I'm still buying more roses. Yeah, I just love roses. So if I can grow them here in my less than optimum conditions, I think you can too. Just find the right ones. Got a bee wanting to get on my camera.